Countdown là. Sì, quello aperto, il sightseeing.
Ma il piano della città?
Cos'è? Sightseeing? Six
Il
City?
piano della città?
Sì.
Sì.
Beh, però Elena, loro preferisco quelli aperti in alto però.
Era poco. Era poco.
Sto inciampando
Sei
un'altra
inciampata?
volta, sì.
Cioè questi giri quasi di andare in vacanza, che sia stato qui, però volendo c'è la spiaggia.
Sì, cioè, sembra di essere al mare.
Come fai a fare? Fanno andare qua. Tu ci prendi dentro tutto.
Qua sono rimasti fermi al 1600. Sono vicino a Filadelfia, no?
Sì, ma la marinera quando ha fatto il percorso da Chicago è passata per
Sì, questi qua mi sembrano anche abbastanza progrediti.
Sì, però quelli
Ce ne
che sono
tutti
vestite
che-
con il cappellino, no, non toccare Corrado.
Dicevi? Come fanno?
Mi fanno vivere senza elettricità.
Loro vanno a letto alle 8 di sera, seguono i ritmi della natura e basta. Hai capito?
Scusa, per cucinare?
Usano il fuoco, o la legna, hanno il caminetto, tutte quelle robe lì. Cioè noi facevamo così anche noi nel 1800, non è che...
I'd love for you to turn up to the right. Just a bit north of us here at this intersection, you can find Paisano's Pizza and Pasta. That is the best Chicago-style deep dish pizza in the downtown area. This particular location over here on our right opened up in 1991 by Rudy Malnati Jr., the grandson of Lou Malnati, one of the founders of Chicago-style deep dish. Now, Rudy's grandmother, Lou's widow, she refuses to retire. She still works in there. As long as she's there, she's going to make sure that all the pizza pies are up to snuff. That was also Frank Sinatra's favorite Chicago restaurant in the years before he passed away. You are up on top of the bus here. You do have to sit down. Sir, I am referring to you. You are going to have to sit down. If you cannot sit down, you're going to have to forfeit your ticket. You are on being recorded here. There we go. We got you. We're going to be moving on to our next stop, stop number 14 from Portillo's Hot Dog. The left there, that is Holy Name Cathedral, built between 1874 and 1875. Possibly the most famous church here in the city of Chicago. That is the seat of the Archdiocese of the Roman Catholic Church of Chicago. Not there, that's also used by the church. We're going to take a right turn onto Chicago, head out west. As we make this turn, keep an eye out on this little parking lot over here. Parking lot's owned by the church. Each year, less and less parishioners use this parking lot for church services. People wonder how much longer the church is going to hold on to it. That's this parking lot over here. This parking lot, this little strip of land is easily worth, conservatively worth $100 million. We can build up more new buildings, but we can't make any new land. Of course we can't, but if we took a turn up north on Clark, eventually we'd hit Clark and Addison, that's Wrigley Field. If we keep going north, we'll hit Evanston, Illinois, and there Clark turns into Old Green Bay Road. If we keep following that road up north, we will hit Green Bay, Wisconsin. Clark used to be called Old Green Bay Road. This was originally a Native American Indian trail connecting our two cities, Chicago, Illinois, with Green Bay, Wisconsin. That might be where the rivalry between our two cities started. It might be that our football team is just that much better. We're not sure, we're speculating. Up ahead of us, I can already see Portillo's hot dogs coming into view. Yeah, we got folks coming down. This is stop number 14. Here we are. They have a full boat here. Everybody crowd in. Anybody having an available seat next to them? There's one there, there's one there. They're all in the back. Lots of seats in the back, right? Here in the city of Chicago. 6 different areas to explore. Fantastic people watching, great folk watching. You might want to grab a glass of wine from the city winery just to head down there, watch the city move in front of you. Absolutely beautiful inside and out there. The steakhouse, all the waiters there wear those white jackets. And up ahead of us, that is Michigan Avenue, aka the Magnificent Mile. We're like 0.87 of a mile, but close to 12 and 13. Now we're going to come along the southern end here, get a better view of some of the shops and restaurants along here. You take a look up over here to the left of the top of the Intercontinental Hotel. It looks like there's a smokestack and a gold ball up top. It's built as a Zeppelin dock. And no Zeppelins have ever docked there, but still one, almost like a church that was built as a tower. Here on our right, this terracotta building, this is the Wrigley Building, built in 1924. 2 buildings, north and south, connected
Se negozio dell'Apple lì.
Skydeck Bridge, that number 1. Great view of Trump Tower here on our right. That is the second tallest building here in the city of Chicago in 1 hour. Take a right turn onto Wacker. That's going to bring us up to stop number 1. You can hop onto that bus up ahead of us. They should be doing another tour. Or don't be afraid to head on down to the Riverwalk. It'll be nice and cool. Chicago branded tchotchkes for folks back home. Postcards, spoons, shot glasses, lots of great soup. Thanks a lot, folks.
Transfer buses.
He was a broadcaster and a journalist here in Chicago. Right here. Yeah, that's right. Route 66 starts in the city of Chicago. If you wanted to, you could follow Route 6 through Chicago, out through Missouri, out past the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. There's a great money museum inside there. Also a great exhibit going on there now, all about Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton, he was the first chairman of the Treasury Department under our first president, George Washington. Alexander Hamilton, he grew up also created the first bank in the United States of America. see, that's the Metropolitan Correctional Center, a federal prison right here in the downtown area. Each cell has a window 7 feet long by 5 inches wide, offering great views of the downtown area. Over here, this is Dearborn. We're going to take a left turn. We're going to head up north onto Dearborn, bringing us up closer to stop number 4. Fugitive, the St. Patrick's Day Parade, comes south down the same route. That's where Richard Kimball disappeared into the St. Patty's crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, you're such a wonderful crowd. We'd like to play a little tune for you. It's one of my personal favorites. And I'd like to dedicate it to a young man who doesn't think he's seen anything good today. Cameron Fry, this one's for you. Over here on the left, this is the Chase Tower, the tallest building inside the loop. Tallest building inside the loop of elevated trains. Back in 1980, Hart they decided to take in a movie. Nice first date, a nice Chicago love story. It all started right over here. That's the Daily Center. Right out in front, that is Daily Plaza, featuring the Picasso. Possibly the most famous statue here in the city of Chicago. Now, Picasso never explicitly said what that's meant to represent, but we generally understand that's a Cubist representation of the view. Macy's on the left, Muddy Waters on the right. It's right where I'm pointing. Unfortunately, I can't see it. It's kind of hiding behind the trees there. It also camouflages itself up against the... To our left, though, those rail lines, they run up north, hide behind the Art Institute of Chicago, and then disappear underneath Millennium Park and Maggie C. Daly. For us, we're pressing out to stop number 12. Stop 12 for the Water Tower Place and the Magnificent Miles coming up next. Remember, stay seated till we get up there. I've got that low bridge coming up ahead of us. That's Lakeshore Drive. Gonna pass underneath and yeah, it stretches out for 18.5 miles along our Lake Michigan coastline. Goes through 13 different neighborhoods here in the city. Available to you here. It's a great place to watch the sun come up over the city. Now we're heading out straight towards stop number 12. 12 coming up here. Just up ahead of us down the street, you might be... Yeah, a lot of bluish-greenish glass along this corridor of Chicago and all over the city. The colors are supposed to remind you of the man who discovered Streeterville 150 years ago, July 20th, 1868, Captain George W. Streeter. Up ahead of us and to the right, I can point out another building back here in the Chicago area, but this was an older one. Yeah, just so you know, the Daily Center up in, down in downtown Chicago. Also the Picasso statue there in Daily Plaza, all made out of the same Corten steel. They revived the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. Now, if you're not familiar with that fire, Great Chicago Fire started October 8, 1871, and who came up with that story, he admitted on his deathbed that he and 2 other reporters made up the story about Mrs. O'Leary and the cow. Bit of fake news there. Now, Mrs. O'Leary, don't feel too bad about her. She was a pariah for a good long time after the fire, but something funny happened. In the years after the fire, Chicagoans became so happy with the second city that sprang up in place of the first, they were almost happy that she burned down the city. Coming up on our left with the blue striped awning, that's Garrett's Popcorn, the Chicago institution, been here since 1949. Hey, don't forget, at stop number 12, there's the Water Tower Place, that vertical shopping center. On the 7th floor at the Water Tower Place, there's a Garrett's Popcorn. With your ticket, with that paper print ticket, you can get a...
On the inside, they are modern skyscrapers for the 1920s. They got steel frameworks, they got elevators. This is focusing on the structure rather than any kind of decoration. Now, the black glass and steel one was completed in 1969, last one ever designed by a guy named Mies van der Rohe, often called the father of modernism. Bertrand Goldberg was a big fan of nature. He said the natural world had no right angles, so neither do his buildings. He goes in for circular curving forms. Now, there's a lot going on. We have the apartments, we have the parking, we have the marina, restaurant, bar, theater. All of this is here because in 1964, this is a warehouse district. To get people to live here, you have to give them everything they could possibly want to do. So here you go. By the way, you do not park your own car here. They have a team of trained valets that parks it for you. Up ahead to the left, you got the brown building, says 55 on the top. This is 55 West Wacker Drive. It's in a style called Brutalism. Brutalism is all about the raw nature of concrete. Which, if you say raw concrete in French, I think it would look much better with a coat of paint, but it's brutalism. And this is a nice example of the current trends in architecture. Is there really a name for this style? I mean, plenty of people propose stuff like futurism or high-tech or whatever. We don't know. When it's done, we'll figure out the name that actually sticks. But in the meantime, anytime you see something that looks like this, it was built in the last 12 years. A machine. Art Deco has verticality. It feels tall because we want to emphasize that these are tall new buildings. So we're going to see a lot of Art Deco on the tour. It's pretty cool stuff. Over in front of us, you can see the elevated tracks crossing the river and making a circle or a loop in the center of the city, which is why the neighborhood to our left is called the Loop, because of the loop of track. If you want to be entirely alone, go here at midnight. You will see no one. Now over to our right, this is the Merchandise Mart. This got built in 1930. At that point, it was the largest building in the world. Former merchant princes of the city. Rich dead guys, basically. Marshall Field, Montgomery Ward, Sears. Heads are put up to commemorate them. For some reason, they felt the best way to do that would be to make it look like we decapitated them and mounted their heads along the river. But that was intended as an honor. We're going to go up the North Branch, and then down the South Branch, and then back out the main branch to Navy Pier. Now, there is a lot going on here. Immediate right got built and blocked off 3/4 of it. We do not have view rights in Chicago. There is absolutely, feels bad for anybody who lives in there. They are doing fine. Mostly because why would you want to live on the river? This is really, really impossible to overstate here. This river, most of our history, was absolutely disgusting. It was an industrial sewer. The Clean Water Act was passed in 1972. Since then, the river has dramatically improved. So it is substantially improved, but that's a new thing. Historic, you either see old warehouses that got renovated into condos along the river, or brand new stuff, like all these nice townhomes up here on the left we're going to see in a second. These are from 2002. All right, I'm going to turn off the microphone for a bit. If you guys have any questions, good time to ask. Otherwise, good time to restock your drinks and visit the bartender.
Sì, bello. Anche c'è una terrazza di sopra, un po' mansardata. Chiama l'ombretta, non possiamo fare un cambio.
With a Y shape is called the municipal device. It is a symbol of the city that refers back to the meeting point of the 3 branches of the river, which looks like a Y. So anytime you see that, and now that I've pointed this out, you're going to see it literally everywhere. Navy Pier, traffic control boxes, manhole covers. Like anytime you see a Y shape, circle or not, it's about this area, referring to the city as a whole. Now that green curving building says Nuveen on the top. That is 333 West Wacker Drive. It got built in 1983, designed by Cohen Peterson and Fox. This is the first large building about the river. Before this, buildings ignored the river. They hid from it, they turned their backs to it. This embraces the river. Everything about this building is a callback to this river. The color, the shape, the curve. Now, over and around, like I said, there's trade traffic. Each one of those columns is about 19 million pounds. That is if the wind is not blowing. Fun fact about the wind hits the building rocks one way, the water slump. This is a combination structure. It got built in 1929. The top is in Oxford. The bottom is in Alcatraz. The idea here being that the rent from the offices in 1929, those words were not added until 1993. Over here we have a lot of modernist office buildings. That big because Chicago is the railroad hub of the United States. All the trains come here. So this is big, it's over the top of the tracks, and that's Brookside Road. They hired the same architect, Bertrand Glauber, and he does River City in 1983. Same basic idea as the Marina City Towers. Except this does not work as well. 1983, this neighborhood off to our left, mostly abandoned warehouses. This section of the river is more polluted by a pretty significant degree than the main branch. Very few people want to live here. The whole area is utterly changing. Yeah, that's how big it is. The inside of that structure has 4.5 million square feet. Remember this off to our left? 2.1. Remember the merchandise mart? 4.2. That is the tallest and the largest building in the city. Now you look all the way up towards the top, you see those 4 glass bubbles of the ledge. You can walk out onto a foot-thick piece of glass and stare 103 stories straight down. We have more movable bridges than any other city in the entire world except for Amsterdam, which has like 350. Most of ours are in what is known as a vestibule trunnion. Things want to sink into that. And modern buildings, to prevent this from happening, use casings, giant steel tubes. But that's if you got like a wide base. And at the base, it has 16 12-foot or 4-meter wide caissons that go 110 feet into the earth, or about 32 meters. Up ahead on the left, you can see the building that says the Chicago School. Now this happens to be a very nice example of the oldest form of skyscraper architecture. So this got built in 1911, and the first skyscrapers tended to be modeled after columns. Because the architect that renovated this knew what they were doing, they added a glass top that resembles a column in 2004, continuing to make it look pretty cool. Balance, which is weird because when you look at this and do some counting, the left-hand side of the building has 5 bays of windows. The right, when this was built, 6 bays out of sight. 1930, they built this bridge, Driver Drive. It got built in 1992, designed by Ricardo Bofill, who's a Spanish architect, big fan of Greek temples. You got that black and gray flat building here. This is 35 West Wacker Drive. It got built in 1989. It is shaped like a giant column. It's kind of a retro throwback. And about a third of the way up, you'll notice the windows gets taller at the exact height of 55 West Wacker Drive. Its immediate neighbor to the right. The owner of the Tribune Corporation decided that his brand new office headquarters should be the most beautiful building in the world. 4 miles through the swamp, now you are in the Des Plaines River. The Des Plaines does not flow into the Great Lakes, it flows into the Illinois and then the Mississippi. So from here, you've got water access everywhere.
Top.
Views. Chicago is on a pretty strict grid system, so anytime you twist a building like that, you get guaranteed views in every direction. The trade-off is you lose some floor space, but worth it if you really care about the view. Up to the left, you can see the triangular building. That is the Swiss Hotel. It was built in 1989, designed by Harry Weiss, same guy that was